Guys, welcome back to Driven Productions. My name's Adam. Welcome to the HQ. Happy to have you here. Behind me is a 2020 McLaren 720S Spider. Now, why are we talking about the 720S Spider? Well, other than the fact that it's totally awesome. Well, this is a luxury trim of this car. Now, the last 720 that we reviewed had 1,000 horsepower. It was a coupe, so it wasn't a Spider. It had a bunch of extra upgrades, and it was absolutely ridiculous, right? I'll put a link to it right here. Stealth 720 Spider, I mean, the thing was just a rocket ship, but it wasn't the luxury version, it was the performance version. So when I met Jason, who I'm gonna be bringing on camera here in just a minute, at a recent car show here in Nashville, I said, hey, this is interesting to me because it is more of a GT car. And we're gonna go through the whole car today. We're gonna take a point of view drive, and I mean a realistic point of view drive. If you're really looking to buy one of these and you watch our POV drive with me and Jason both commenting, you're gonna really get a good feel of what this car can do, how it performs in realistic, real road driving conditions, okay? Now, we're not taking it to the track and going crazy. There are other reviews for that. And frankly, this is more of a luxury trim anyways. I'm not sure this would be the car you would probably default to the track, although you absolutely could, because it is still a 700 plus horsepower car. It still has the 4-liter twin turbo, still has the 0 to 60 in 2.8 seconds, right? It still runs the quarter mile in the low 10s or the high 9s. McLaren underrates this car, if you can believe that or not. The guys out there tell me this has 700 horsepower to the wheels. It's pretty incredible. I'm gonna bring Jason on, the owner. He can give you his thoughts. You know, Jason has a wealth of knowledge. He's had a lot of great cars. He just traded in his 991.2 GT3, which was a manual with the 4-liter and all that, right? For this car, so and he's had a bunch of other cool ones. So let's cut this one off and go into him. And I appreciate you guys watching. Jason, welcome to the Driven HQ.
Happy to be here.
Thanks for coming, my man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Man, so Aurora Blue. You just picked this thing up. It's blue and tan, very popular combination. Love the wheels, carbon ceramic brakes. Any initial thoughts about the spec or the car, or just first impressions?
Yeah, so I like the color combination of the blue and tan. I was going for something that's a little bit more luxury versus boy racer, carbon fiber, blacked out. So this is kind of the vibe that I was going for, and really happy with it so far. I've had it for a couple weeks and been an absolute blast.
You know, how does it compare to, the 991.2 Porsche, and you've had some other cool cars, I'm sure, so.
Yeah, so been into Porsches my whole life, grew up on track, driving Porsches with my dad, other cars, NSX, Vipers, some full-fledged race cars. Right. But Porsche is just kind of in my DNA. So I had a few GT3s leading up to this, and most recently a 991.2 GT3 manual in sapphire blue metallic, and was just ready for a change of pace. So that car, absolutely incredible. Love the manual transmission. That high revving flat 6 was an incredible platform. But wanted something a little bit more exotic, a little bit more power. Wanted to feel what that was like, and this kind of
mid-range punch.
Mid-range punch, absolutely.
There's nobody home on those 4 liters below 3,000 RPMs, or really even 4 or 5.
Yeah, yeah. So the GT3, I mean, that engine is absolutely magical from 6,000 RPM on up. It's glorious, and I had an exhaust on it, and it wailed and had this scream to it that was intoxicating.
Right.
So this sounds amazing too in its own right. It's just very different, being twin turbocharged versus having that NA V6 with a really short exhaust out the back. So very different.
Question: how many other 720Ss did you look at before buying this particular one?
Good question. So I looked at. Well, I'm kind of car shopping all the time. It's a problem of mine, but
right.
Yeah.
I know your pain.
Yeah. In earnest, I probably talked to 4 or 5 different 720S, either owners or dealerships, about cars they had.
Were you looking at a performance, or was it always just the GT spec, like the luxury spec that you were kind of leaning towards,
Yeah, so previously having GT3 RS and other cars, similar to that, I had Alcantara all over the interiors and wanted to get away from that and get something that had leather. It's easier to maintain, clean. I like the feel of it more than all the Alcantara. So the luxury spec is really what I was targeting for this car, a luxury Spider. I really like the blue and the way that this blue in particular, the Aurora blue, highlights a lot of the curves of the car. I think the car is really elegant in its design, and the blue that's kind of not super dark or light is subtle, but really the light kind of captures the curves and essence of what the designers were going for. So that's what drew me to it. And it contrasts nicely with a lot of the other colors on the car, like the blacks, the grays. So I think it does its job.
It's a good looking color. I really like it. It's got a beautiful flake in the sun,
Yep.
you know, and it's very like gentian blue like, right? Where it kind of color changes a little bit to purple to blue. It's a good looking color, and the wheels I think are great. Black carbon ceramic brakes. I'm sure you could have gone with a nice bright color, but the owner who originally configured this, right, went with something more subtle. This is a very gentleman's car.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, this is the kind of car that you probably aren't going to get any trouble in, right? As far as, you know,
That's the hope.
Law enforcement and just generally people like, you know, constantly wanting to race you. I mean, this is a really just gentleman spec. There's nothing wrong with that. I actually kind of prefer it. It's kind of like the Vanquish, right? Like nobody bothers me in that car. Now, if you show up in one of these in like the, you know, bright orange McLaren color, everybody's going to be like, oh, look at me, and they're going to want to race you and all that stuff. I know because I've experienced it before, you know, with some of my friends who have the bright ones.
Yep.
Now, you can, guys, just so you know, you can get all of this stuff in carbon fiber. Upgraded interior, the luxury interior was $12,000, but you can get all of this in carbon fiber. And so McLaren has carbon fiber 1, 2, and 3 options. So you can get exterior carbon 1 plus exterior carbon 2, and then even more exterior carbon 3. So all of this painted area here can be carbon fiber if you choose. They do charge you an arm and a leg. I mean, you could literally spend $20,000 plus to have all of these pieces in carbon fiber. Even the wing can be in carbon fiber versus paint.
Yeah.
Now, with the other upgrades you can get, can we show the folks this right here? This is really cool. So
Sure.
what do they call this? Call it like the electromagnetic?
Yeah, electrochromatic roof.
Electrochromatic, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, electromagnetic, what am I talking about, right? I haven't been doing this before. So this is a really interesting feature. So, and we gotta show them with the roof opening and closing too. But check this out, guys. So you can kind of see how dark it is right now. Yeah, see how blue that is? So it's basically like a sun roof that is fully tinted. And then as soon as you turn the car on, or just put it in auxiliary mode, you hit one button and it goes to, oh, is that fully untinted? Or is
that's clear now.
Okay, so it's either on or off. There's not like an in-between.
Nope.
Okay, that's interesting. From this angle, it still looks like it's got a good tint to it. So it probably still blocks UVs, but now you get that same kind of open cockpit, you know. Isn't that cool though? Because that's also the Spider, so you can take that completely off with just a push of a button, or you kind of get the best of both worlds where you can have it closed, and if it's a hot sunny day, and not roast your you-know-what.
Yep.
Outside of that, you know, I said it in my point of view drive, I really love these seats, guys. Like, they're really nice. Like, it smells like a fine library in here, you know? Like, this doesn't have boy racer feeling on the inside. It literally feels like a luxury car. And it feels like, because everything is wrapped and stitched in leather. I mean, you know, these dihedral doors, you can see how it has the leather stitch here with the nice upgraded B&O, you know, aluminum sound, you know, paneling. And then you have all of this is also stitched. It just looks really modern and it smells good. Like, I remember when he first came and I sat in it, I'm like, man, it smells like a nice, fine leather book, you know?
Yep. Yeah, only Alcantara's on the headliner here.
Right.
Otherwise, it's all leather, carbon fiber, brushed aluminum.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the last one I was in, you know, it absolutely was completely Alcantara. Now, getting in and out of this thing, you see how this is typically a big carbon sill, and you still do have the carbon tub. You can see all this is forged carbon, so that's just, you know, inherent with all the McLarens. Let me just go ahead and demonstrate getting in, guys. So, I gotta be honest, getting in this car, like I'm 6 feet tall, and I think Jason's even taller than I am, he's 6'2", so I'm a big guy. It's gonna take a little bit of finesse, but not too bad. So you can absolutely do it. And because the doors, you can see here, like, you know how most cars, the door's like right here. You have no problem with your feet clearing things. You just have to kind of be mindful of this panel right here. Now, sitting on the inside, it's a very driver-focused cockpit, right? All of this is all focused on the driver, right? Now, you can see this is just a really nice spec. You can get all of this in different shades and colors, you know. This could have been a bright blue or something black or whatever, but it's very gentleman the way this was originally spec'd. Again, this has a nice textile feeling to it, as do all the buttons. It just feels like a really premium car, you know? I mean, I said this in my point of view drive, and hopefully you guys have enough time to check that part out. It really checks the Grand Touring box, meaning it's comfortable, it's luxury, doesn't beat you up, suspension, etc. I'm sure the sound system's great. Not that we're going to test that today, right?
The sound system is fantastic, actually. I just got out of a couple cars at a similar price point and really impressed with the Bowers and Wilkins audio here.
Yeah, the B&O in my Aston is fantastic. I mean,
Yeah.
just like world class, right?
I think this is around 1,400 watts actually, with 13 speakers or so. There's a sub in the passenger footwell. Yeah, it's really good.
So, my point is you get this really nice Grand Touring place. You don't have to be going 910 on the car to enjoy it.
Yeah.
You get the sunroof you can take off really easy. We'll show you that here next. And then at the same time, you put this thing into active mode and move it right over here to track, and it is a freak in the sheets. I mean, this thing has got a lot of power, like scary power.
Yep.
You really got to watch it because it's easy to run out of road. So it was a nice brisk morning when we took this car out, and so we didn't do it that hard. But looking here, you have not much cup holders or space. As you can see, you do have, looks like 2 USBs, but not a lot of space.
No glove box.
But let me show you the front trunk next, because this is actually a pretty practical car. And one little last thing I want to point out, if you maybe didn't know, like, see how that's Alcantara and then it has the leather stitching here with the carbon fiber inlay? I just love the use, at least of this particular spec, of all these different materials, right? This has that nice metal feeling. This again is carbon fiber, leather, stitch line, and Alcantara. You just have a really good use of a lot of exotic materials. As you come down here, these are also that nice metal feeling. Just feels like a really premium product. Okay. There's really no easy way to get out of these supercars. As you can see, I'm 6 feet tall and I'm sitting in the tub, right? And you literally do sink down. And so if you want to get out, there's really not many places you're going to be able to get out without applying some pressure to the car, right? You can't just stand up straight unless you're in, the spider mode with the top off, and there's really nothing here to grab. So what I would do, and just between you and me, is I'd kind of come up here and push on this sill and then just kind of push myself up. So just keep in mind, if you have a nice older wife, or you're an older gentleman, you may want to test drive one of these. If you get the Senna seats, I can guarantee you're going to hate the car, because the last one I reviewed was a 600 LT with a roof scoop and the Senna seats, and I couldn't even get out without literally crawling. I am serious. I had to literally put 2 hands on the floor and fall out to get out of this car. And I'm 6 feet tall. Now, if you're 6'3", forget about it. Like, it's just not the car for you. You're either going to hit your head on the roof, or you're just not going to be able to fit. So, but this is doable. Like, I really thought the seat was comfortable, and getting in and out is not as bad as a Porsche carbon bucket seat. All right, now Jason's going to show you the front trunk. Now, we were just talking about practicality. I mean, this is still a supercar, but you do have the ability to have a little weekend getaway, right? You can put a couple of overnight bags here. They give you a light, little fire extinguisher. That's nice. Now, is there any other space in this car at all? There is a little bit in the back, isn't there?
Yeah, with the top up, you have space under this tonneau cover, which you access from underneath the driver's side door.
Talking and looking back here, guys, this is the 4-liter twin-turbo V8, and McLaren is kind of like Porsche. You really can't see anything. I do believe there's a light in here at night.
Yeah, there is a red light on there when you get in and out. That shows up when it's dark out there. It looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
But it's not a Ferrari engine bay, there's nothing, no jewelry.
I don't even think you see it on the coupe though. So they just don't show you at all, right?
I'm not sure.
I don't think they do, because I remember seeing, like I said, the last one, and I don't think it had the engine showing at all.
Yeah, so you can see the 720S badge there, 4-liter twin-turbo V8.
There it is.
That's it, yeah.
Good old British sports cars. Now, if you guys don't know much about McLaren, McLaren comes from the F1 world. Obviously, you know, Senna, Bruce, McLaren, all these guys that were famous for them, right? But in the end of the day, this is a British car company. This is a very bespoke, hand-built car. They don't mass produce these. They also depreciate quite a bit. This car dropped about $150,000 within its first 2 years. And this is now leading into COVID. And now COVID, it's interesting because, and Jason will speak to this because I know I was watching the market because this is, I mean, for $200,000, that's a lot of car, right?
Yeah.
But they went up to 300 during COVID.
Yep.
And some of them even went damn near back to MSRP, especially for like a really rare hot spec.
Yep.
Now with rates at 8.5%, 9%, 10% like they are, you know, most of the guys buying these are probably buying them in cash, but they're still, you know, 75, 80% of cars are still financed. So I would tell you that a 720S is still between 290 and about 180 depending on miles. So I saw some higher miles, 30, 40,000 mile cars that were going for about $180, $190 with a really good spec. I also saw some cars like this that were low miles and nice, and they were still 250, 260, 280, 290. So it's a really wide spread. I did see 6 pages of cars on just Car Gurus. I'll throw some, you know, graphics on the screen here of some of my personal favorites. But still, depreciation is kind of like compounding interest. It's a wonder of the world, right? So if you're the first owner, you hate it because you lose your you know what. But if you're smart, like I really think Jason, you know, he likes to quote hack cars, right? You know, Pejman Gadimi, Exotic Car Hacks, right? He likes to get in and out of cars without losing a lot of money. He works hard. He's a small business owner. I'm a small business owner. We work too goddamn hard for our money, right? And we don't want to just blow it. And so this is one of those really good cars, I think, that you could get in for $250,000. Don't put a ton of miles on it, keep it in good condition, paint corrected, etc., and then sell it for probably what you paid or really close to it. And that becomes a safe store of value. So the 720S is actually one of the most hackable exotic cars on the market. You maybe didn't know that. If you clicked on this video, you probably did know that, and that's probably why you're looking to get it, right? Yeah. I think a lot of people who buy these cars, they think them as pretty safe. However, be mindful if you're buying a brand new 765 LT or something like that from McLaren that, you know, if it's $600,000 new, it might not be worth $600,000 in 6 months, a year, 2 years. It's very possible you could lose 10, 20, 30, even 40%. I had a friend selling his 600 LT. You may know Matt. He hit me up with the car. He said, "Hey man, you could have this car." I think he was gonna give it away for $220. It was a $390,000 MSRP.
Wow.
It was a roof scoop, all carbon options.
Yep.
And it had like not even 10,000 miles. So that's just a perfect example of a car that like 600 LT has not held its value as much as the 720S. And specifically, you have the best version, which is the Spider. So let's show the folks the Spider. So I'm gonna show you the Spider. Now guys, why would you not get the Spider? Here's the thing, it's just as capable on track according to McLaren. It doesn't really add that much weight, and it's a hardtop. And so there are no downsides to getting this car in the Spider version, which is why I do think the Spider version demands a premium. Now, if you're gonna be tracking your car a lot, or where you have a lot of inclement weather or whatever, I can make an argument for the coupe, of course, but in the end of the day, I mean, that looks really good.
I think it adds about 150 pounds or so.
Yeah, but with 700 horsepower, like that is nothing.
When they designed this monocoque originally, so the Spider came out in 2020, the 720S I believe was 2018. This monocoque actually included the A-pillars and roof. So they had to redesign a little bit to accommodate the Spider variant, which I think they changed on the 750. So added about 100, 150 pounds, but from a rigidity perspective, it feels really solid. I can't complain.
I didn't know I was in a convertible earlier when we were driving it. Well, guys, I hope you learned something. I mean, look, bottom line is there's not that much to cover on the interior of this car. You know, a couple of little notes since he has the car on that I will cover with you real quick. And I can get into this car now. I kind of fall into it now that he has the top down. You have the ability to just do a few things with this technology. This is not known to be the best system in the world. I don't think anybody is going to deny that, but you do have the ability, like I'm doing here, to touch screen. You do have heated seats, which is kind of cool. And you also have a couple of little fun McLaren features here as well.
So this is kind of, yeah, you can scroll through your different.
See, I didn't even know that.
And there's vehicle,
yeah, this is what I wanted to chat with you guys about. So it's kind of funny, like you can adjust the amount of drift, as in how much you can kick out the back tires with this system by just literally adjusting the knob, which is really cool. You know, again, the navigation's built in. Would you ever use this as probably navigation? No. But again, I've heard some negatives about it. You do have HomeLink, which is nice, so you know you can get in and out of your garage, not too difficult. But overall, the last thing I'll cover, and I did this on the drive, when you want to go into manual paddle mode, you have to hit the active button, and then from there, that puts it essentially in paddle. Now, one thing about these paddles is you can go back or forward. So if you go up, that's going to go ahead and downshift, or back is going to downshift. Same thing with up or back, which is kind of cool. I think that's a fun feature. Not a lot of cars I know have that. And then you also have the ability here to obviously do your track mode. And then another fun parting trick is you can hit this button right here, and that will actually go and make it race mode. I personally, on our drive, we both agreed this just made a lot more sense, because once you're in that mode, you can't tell what your tire, your engine oil, or any of that stuff is going and doing. So it's just kind of more fun to see it. But it's fun that's a nice party trick. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed that part, and now you can get on to your point of view drive. All right, guys, I wanted to just take a quick minute and show you the window sticker here, and I actually misspoke earlier. I said it was $357. It's actually a $374 MSRP, so quite a bit higher. You can see here this has the MSO defined steering wheel and the MSO paddles. That's the carbon fiber. They charge you $190 for the fire extinguisher. Of course, you got to buy that. The luxury version, all that leather and whatnot, was $12,000. You got the interior finished components in carbon fiber, which is some of that stuff I pointed out earlier. The diamond cut wheels are actually $1,900, interesting. You do get the 10-spoke light wheels for $3,800, so that plus the finish is about $5,000, maybe $6,000. That roof, that really cool electrochromic roof is $9,100. Look at this though, some of the interesting stuff. They charge you for the 360-degree park assist, which you're actually gonna see in the point of view drive when I hit reverse. The sport exhaust is $5,900 and the speakers are $4,400. Boy, the speakers really seem like a good deal considering that the reverse camera is $3,100. Boy, I'll take the upgraded sound system all day long. Anyway, hope you guys find this interesting. Fuel economy is pretty good. Look at that, 22 on the highway, 15 on the city. I mean, shoot. Yeah, we just wanted to turn the light on for you guys so you can see it is a bright red light. It's very cool. But again, not like you're seeing the plenums or anything like a brand new C8 or 458 Ferrari or anything like that. Real quick, guys, before we do our point of view drive, we were just talking about the tires. So these are 305 20s and 245 19s, and this thing came with what Pirelli P0s. And not that I'm hating on Pirellis, although I really think that's a terrible tire. I think Jason got the car and the first thing he did was change it to the PS4 tires. Why? Is because they have rain grooves, a little bit better than those Pirellis, and they are a lot more forgiving when it's chilly outside.
Yep,
right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I did that within 4 days of getting it. I knew the Pirellis had to go.
The car.
Yeah, absolutely. Rides better, less road noise. The tires have traction, especially on cold days, rain. Yep. It's better for the road.
Yeah, we would have been ice skating today.
Absolutely.
Especially on half throttle.
Yep.
With traction control or not. I mean, the car it's everywhere on those P0s. And when I had my Vanquish, it had P0s that came with it from the factory. And I mean, the car would literally skip, guys, when you turn the wheel if it wasn't 80 degrees outside. And I thought it was the car. No, it was the freaking tires.
Yeah.
As soon as I got those tires, it transformed that car. I love it. It made it so much better. So I'm really glad you have these. I think you're going to get a lot more use out of them. And then keep the P0s for the track.
That's what I did. I kept the P0s actually, and I'll swap them for track days. Yeah,
exactly.
Burn them up.
Have them Freedom Tires of the world, throw them on there for the track, burn them down, and then put these back home and drive home. I mean, that's the way to go. All right, guys, I have never been in a 720S. Well, actually not true. It's actually my second 720S, but it's been a while. So let's get comfortable and figure out how to turn this thing on. So the key goes right here. I know that. Put your foot on the brake. There we go. Roll up the window here. I'm gonna adjust my seat. I assume this is saved, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, go ahead.
Okay. That's up and down. That's lumbar.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Wow. That is nuts, dude. Like the McLaren.
It took me about 20 minutes to get my seat right.
I know. This is insane.
Yeah.
Oh my God. This is the most awkward thing. Like, it's not intuitive at all.
Forward and backwards are on the same.
That's bananas.
Isn't it?
Yeah. That's really bad. Yeah.
And then
that's pretty terrible.
you can adjust this, I think, over on the, yeah, there you
Hey, that's good.
Yeah.
Hey, we got that part.
Yep. So it'll lean the seat forward. So the more you scoot back, it'll lean forward at the same time. And this seat, it thinks it needs 3 inches.
Do you need any lift on this? Probably should, right? Is that your phone? I was about to say, is that the lift sound?
Nope. That's phone.
All right, so the lift's on?
Yep.
Okay. It is?
Yeah, that beep means it's up.
Okay,
You're good.
Just don't want to scrape. Well, I do gotta say the 3D camera's quite nice. This is nice, so that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's a nice little feature. Anybody come in there with the?
Clear on the right.
Well, very easy to drive so far. She kind of butters along. So.
And then axle lift, you just push that in.
Does it go down at like 25?
It may.
Well, first impressions driving the McLaren 720S luxury version. Nice. Pretty loud in here, but not crazy. Now, this does not have the exhaust on, right? Like you have to go to active and then that turns it all on, right?
It's not actually valved.
Oh.
So
this is as loud as it always is.
It is what it is, yep.
Okay. Interesting. Boy, the transmission just butters along. I mean, we're in 5th gear doing 26 miles an hour.
Yep.
So dual clutch. This is absolutely a car you could daily drive.
Yeah, super comfortable.
Really could. I don't think you would be hard pressed to drive this to work, even in the rain, unless you just had like Trofeo R's or something on it. You put some PS4s on here.
That's what I threw on the other day.
Yep.
Actually, yeah, and I got caught in the rain, and it was great,
yeah.
easy.
Yeah, PS4s are the do-all tire. They really are. Wow, easy to drive. I mean, the bump wasn't even that bad. Boy, the brake pedal though, she's stiff. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of got a little bit of a dead feeling to it, doesn't it? I like the steering wheel feel. Thin here. Feels nice. Carbon fiber. I'm sure this was all an upgrade, right?
It was,
MSO
yeah.
steering wheel, probably.
Correct. Yep.
It's
and
very
paddles.
GT-like, right? Yep. Cat paddles are carbon.
Yep, that's an MSO option as well.
Yeah, no buttons on the steering wheel in your McLaren, at least this one. I really like the cockpit overall. It looks really modern, and with this leather here versus the Alcantara, it's kind of punched up.
Yeah.
It looks nice.
Yeah.
How does it compare to your Porsche that you had?
Much easier to drive. Like when you're looking at this from a daily ease of drive sense, the suspension is smoother.
Start stop.
Yep, start stop. That's still on there.
Yeah, that's a feature I just really despise.
Yeah,
on
we'll
cars
turn it
like
off.
this.
Yep.
It's good to show. It's good to show people that is always on though when
Yep.
when you start the car. It's something you're going to have to always turn off. Which why do they come on supercars? I'll never know. Does anybody really like that feature?
I turn it off. You also hit 30 back there, and the front axle lift is still up, so it might. I'm curious when it will go down. I'm sure we'll find out.
Yeah, I just noticed the symbol's still here.
Yeah.
All right. Well, maybe it just always stays up. So let's turn it off. So that goes.
Push that stalk in at the end. There you go. Yep.
Okay.
Now we're going down.
I'm just curious how long it takes. Yeah, I can still see it.
I think it's about 10 to 15 seconds or so.
It's a little longer than the Porsche.
The Porsche was much faster.
But not bad. The fact that you have it is awesome, right?
Yep. Nice
well,
to have.
I gotta say, guys, from the first impression of this thing, it's butter. I mean, really easy to drive. Like, literally 2 fingers. The weight of the steering wheel feels like a sports car, but nothing crazy. Now, does that change when you go into active mode and change the modes? Does this get heavier? Or is it just kind of hydraulic and this is just how it is?
Yeah, I think it's hydraulic. That's how it is.
Okay. Okay. It feels great. It really does. I don't feel like it's underweighted, and I don't feel like it's overweighted.
Really happy with the steering.
Yeah,
I like
good.
the feel. Yeah.
It's very telepathic. Like, you know, every input does change the direction of the wheel. You know, there's no dead zone at all, or virtually none. It's pretty quiet in here.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I can have a conversation. No problem.
Yep.
I mean, this is like dual car. I really think so.
Really, the frunk is bigger than the GT3.
Right?
We went on a big Costco run the other day. We were able to get it all in here.
Is that right? Costco run in a McLaren. Boy, that's not one I thought you'd say.
Well, and this
And you
being
can't
the
get
Spider,
that much.
No, we didn't get a ton.
Yeah, you're not getting toilet paper, that's for sure.
Yeah, we fit the necessities.
Yeah, the necessities.
And this being a Spider too, if you leave the top up, you have space under the tonneau cover back there as well.
Yeah, we'll definitely turn on that and on the way back just to show folks. But man, this is comfortable. Like, this seat's comfortable. It's not pinching me. It's definitely better than the carbon buckets.
That's why I opted for the luxury package. You know, this is one that I want to put some miles on, cruise, but also be able to really enjoy when I want to. And just super easy to drive with this spec. Comfortable.
Right. Well, I will say, the brakes, I'm not in love with them on a first impression. They are, you really got to push them. They almost feel like they need new fluid, but that might just be how they are.
Yeah, I think when you really get into it, you can modulate them, but it is a stiffer brake pedal.
It's stiff, yeah. It's very race car.
Yep.
Boy, I tell you, this transmission, I mean, look at this, guys. I mean, I'm just taking it easy. You know, we're just getting out of Dodge right now. But, wow. I mean, effortless to seventh gear. It shifts. So, I'm sure you're getting pretty good fuel economy in this thing, too. I mean, what, 20 miles a gallon?
Yeah, driving here, so 18.8.
18.8 in a supercar. That's something. You got a 700 horsepower 4-liter engine. You get 18, 19, 20 miles a gallon.
Yep.
You gotta love that.
And this powertrain is currently in sport, so your shifts, it affects how quickly it shifts and the aggressiveness.
Got it.
Comfort for your suspension handling.
Right. You know, this is a really bumpy road, and it's soaking it up really well. I'm blown away by the level of comfort this car has. I mean, really. You could have a big old full meal and take your wife home after dinner, and she's not going to hate you. You're still going to get laid that night. That's good.
Yeah, exactly.
I bet you that wasn't happening as much in that last Porsche you had.
It was a little bit rougher for sure.
Yeah, you were getting the stink eye. You know, after she sat in that bucket seat and bruised herself.
Yep.
She goes, "Honey, this is uncomfortable." I'm like, why did you buy a race car?
Yeah, that's the thing with this, is it's got a couple personalities. You know, if you want to switch it into track mode, change the suspension firmness, track on the powertrain, and really hammer it, you can.
Right.
Or comfort settings, and it's great to just cruise around in easily.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure this car is absolutely ridiculously fast, and we'll have a little fun on our road coming up here that's in the middle of nowhere. But this is, from a first impression, wow. I mean, this is incredible. I mean, it's comfortable.
Yeah.
It's quiet, it's comfortable, it shifts good, you get good fuel economy, the weight of the steering, the seat, I mean, the quiet factor.
Yep.
It just checks every box. I mean, I'm actually kind of blown away. I thought it'd be a lot harsher. I mean, this is a road that I'd like to take cars on because it does beat them up a little bit. This is probably the most comfortable car I've reviewed in a while.
Yeah, McLaren worked their magic with this suspension, the way they've linked everything from side to side. It's
I've heard they've had issues with the actuators, but is it magnetic ride, or are they doing some witchcraft here, or is it just really good dampening?
I think it's good dampening and hydraulic. I don't know that it's magnetic, but
yeah, I think that is patented by the Chevys of the world, but still, or GM. But
Yep.
But it is obviously adaptive, because when you change the mode, I'm sure it does stiffen it up, right?
It does, yeah. And it's surprising how quickly the suspension reacts to inputs too. And if you start really getting into corners or have a fast turn in, what really impressed me is how flat it is, much more so than the GT3.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know, you don't have quite as much visibility as you do in the 911, but overall, like, you do have, it doesn't feel claustrophobic at all, especially with this glass.
Yeah.
It feels nice. I mean, the only thing I dislike is the brake pedal. I feel like it's a little too stiff for just this mode, right?
Yeah.
I feel like you could have that mode in track, but on the street, you really got to push it. Now, that could just be the fact that it's a cold day. They're carbon ceramic brakes. Like, very, very possible. Not ruling that one out, but I got a feeling that's just the way it is.
You're probably right. Haven't had it on track yet, so don't know, but I think it's probably weighted all the time.
Yep. The last one I reviewed had a very similar feeling, and frankly, he had probably used the brakes a bit more than you probably have, you know, as far as that goes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, let's put this thing to active mode. So we were in comfort. All right, let's see what she does, huh? This is one of my favorite roads. Now, it is chilly today, so we're gonna take it easy. Ooh, she's got a lot of power. This has 568 foot-pounds of torque. Yeah, I mean, I'm short shifting it, and it's still got way too much power. Absolutely a car you're going to need to take to the track. No doubt about that. But definitely a car that you don't have to take to the track to enjoy it like you just experienced. You know, you could just butter around town and have a good old time, especially with the convertible.
Yeah, I think that's part of the fun, is you really don't have to drive fast in this car with this spec to make an event out of it. It feels good.
You know, it feels really light, too.
Mm-hmm.
Like having to do a hard brake like we just did, right? That felt really, like, this car is very light and nimble. I mean, it's great.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just, you know, feels extremely balanced. You know, obviously it's mid-engine, but some mid-engine cars don't feel that balanced, frankly. They still feel a little off. This one feels great.
Transmission impressed me too, coming from PDK to this and the GT3 RS.
Yeah, the transmission's, like, it does bang gears a little bit, guys, so you're not feeling it, obviously.
That's also this setting too. If you switch to track for the powertrain, the shifts are smoother and faster.
Interesting. All right,
so
well,
in the sport setting, it makes it a little bit more dramatic, where it'll hit the gears.
So this actually doesn't change until you go to track mode.
That's a setting in here. So to bring the binnacle down, there's a button on the left.
Oh, you're right. It does change it up a little bit, doesn't it?
Yep.
Interesting.
Yep.
You get a little bit of turbo lag, but nothing crazy. Like, I think if you were on a track, you would barely even know it was turbocharged. But on the street, if you are going to do like half or full throttle, you know, around 4,000 or 5,000, you get about a half a second lag, and then she takes off.
Yep.
Which I actually prefer for the street because it keeps you out of trouble. It allows the car to stabilize, kind of coming out of turns, and you can kind of use it to your advantage a little bit.
Yep.
Although on a track, I do prefer naturally aspirated, that's for sure.
Having that instant power is nice.
Yeah, you just always know what the car's, you know, wants and is doing.
Be a bit easier to steer with the throttle, NA versus turbocharged.
100%. You got to make sure the car is like right now. Then I can go, right.
Yep.
I couldn't do it halfway because otherwise the car's going to spool and kick me out.
Yep.
Well, it's fast. I mean, there's no two ways about that. I mean, this thing is very fast. She's got a lot of power.
She does. That was one thing. I knew it was going to be fast. They're underrated from the factory. So 720 PS is what they're rated at. I think a lot of people are dynoing them around
700
of the wheels.
Yeah. And it's interesting, this being the luxury version, you still get the same power plant, right?
Yep.
So what does the performance give you versus this as far as that goes?
The interior is different. I believe the exterior, there's more carbon fiber on the exterior as well. So this has no exterior carbon fiber.
She gives you a little backfire, huh? Every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Not always, but just every once in a while, she kind of gives you a little like, hello, you're driving a supercar.
Yeah, and with the Spider, you've got a window in the center here that you can roll down.
Oh,
really
cool.
adds to the drama without,
awesome.
you know, the top needing to be down too.
You know, I know this thing redlines at almost 8, but I never feel like I have to get anywhere close to that, you know? Especially on the street, I just have so much usable power everywhere, right?
Yeah, big mid-range.
Yeah. I mean, the mid-range is unbelievable. Like, that was literally 60% throttle, guys, and I mean, you're going for the moon, right? So you just don't need to run it out. I mean, that's probably the biggest thing with your Porsche that you probably enjoy, that, because that Porsche is no fun at 4,000.
Yeah, 6 to 9 is where it's at.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And there's nobody home at 3. Well, I mean, gosh, this is... I almost think this is like a more dual car than maybe even the 911 Turbo. I mean, it's definitely more exotic and cool. You know, you guys can't see it in my rearview mirror, but the wing keeps coming up, right?
Yep.
Which is very cool.
And this button brings the wing up full time.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, it's very subtle though.
So when you hit the brakes and it comes up to act as an air brake, the harder you get into the brakes, the more aggressive that air brake will be.
No kidding.
So partial brake, it'll come up a little bit. If you're really stomping on it, that'll fly up.
Cool.
Yeah.
Wow. I like it. I like it a lot.
And I don't know if you want to hit that binnacle button to show the full track display.
Oh, you mean this right here?
The three buttons on the left, there's one that looks like that binnacle. Yeah, if you push that, it'll bring that down for track mode.
Got it. I mean, I kind of prefer the other view. I mean, you lose everything, but
Yep.
I mean, I guess it is simple for the track.
Well, I also like to know temps and what else is going on when
Right.
I'm on track, so that's
Right.
why I turned it off. By default, when you go into track
Yeah,
here,
'cause we're-
that goes down.
Yeah,
I changed that.
No, this is much preferred.
I agree.
Yeah. It is a cool party trick, though.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
Yeah.
no other cars do that, right? Not that I can think of.
Yep.
Porsche doesn't do that, that's for sure. Wow. Love it.
Yeah.
I mean, fantastic. Like, no negatives on the driving experience. I mean, now the brakes are a little more warmed up, but it's still, you still got to push that. Definitely a little squealing there, but wow, guys, great car, really. Yeah, you know, we were just saying, you know, Jason bought this car sight unseen and just watched YouTube reviews, right? Like we're making.
Yep.
And
No test drive. Had never driven a McLaren at all before. So watching channels like yours and others, I said let's give it a go. Scratch the McLaren itch, and super happy with it.
I don't see why you wouldn't be. I have no negatives on the driving experience. This is fun. It feels safe, but you do have to respect the power.
Absolutely,
like this is not a car you're going to get into and just go for it. Like, I mean, yeah, we got trash control on, and I think you could absolutely have a safe day, but if you're not careful, you're going to run out of road real quick. And that's the bottom line.
Yep. I'm fortunate enough to have been on track a lot in my life, and you do need to understand braking zones and how fast you're coming into corners, or it will absolutely bite you.
Yep. You know, and I think once you lose it, you're gone. There's no getting it back.
Yeah.
So mid-engine cars, you know, if they're brake traction, I mean, you better catch it just right, or you're spinning out. There's no like forgiveness typically. Whereas in a front-engine car, you have a lot of understeer, and you usually can catch it pretty good.
This I've found is relatively balanced when you get into those oversteer scenarios. You can play with it a little bit, and the car will let you do it.
Right. Well, overall, I think the driving experience is just phenomenal. I mean, really. I'm not lacking power, and I have comfort. I love the transmission. My only maybe quirk would be the brake.
Yep.
A little bit, just because it feels like a sports car, it feels like a race car from the braking point of view.
Has it softened up at all?
A little bit. I think the brakes warmed up a little bit, but you know, you still got to push on it though, right? I mean,
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, I mean, that's okay. I can forgive a brake. I mean, you know, you just got to push the brake pedal. They work.
Yep.
You know, that's not like a reason I wouldn't buy the car. And the top up, you know, there's not a lot of wind buffeting. Like, this is quite pleasant, actually. They must have done a lot of wind tunnel testing.
Yeah, I've noticed there's a couple spots for that center window when you put the top down. It defaults to something in the middle, and I have to imagine that's probably for the buffeting.
Right.
That was one issue with 911s too. So not a convertible. When you roll those windows down, you have a ton of buffeting.
I agree. Well, thanks for watching, guys. We made it this far into the video. I always like to do a little conclusion just to sum it up, you know? This is probably like my 300 plus review, and I've done a ton of exotic cars. I gotta say, I actually think this should be really, really high on your list if you're looking for the do-all car. You know, people always say the Porsche 911 Turbo is the do-all sports car. Well, I gotta be honest, I think this car eats its lunch. I really do. It's comfortable, it's got a gushy enough suspension, it's easy enough to get it in and out of, it's got more looks, more performance than the 911 Turbo ever will, okay? Yeah, you could throw a tune on it and you could boost it up, and at the end of the day, it don't got 700 damn horsepower. Now, if you're talking about a 2RS, that's a whole different level, it's a whole different price point, right? That's not apples to apples. But if you are comparing this at literally $250,000 to a 992 Porsche Turbo, which is what, 290, 300, or maybe you get a little bit older one, it's still gonna be 150 to 200. This is a lot of car, a lot of awesome. I really think the luxury spec, if you're not looking just to go 10-10 on a track all the time with all the Alcantara, is kind of the way to go. For me, being a little older and a little bit more of a gentleman touring car, nothing wrong with that. Overall though, really great product. If it holds up. You know, one of the things that I might get in the comments, right, is that, well, what about the actuators? And what about the problems you're gonna have with McLaren service and this and the other thing? Look, we're in Nashville. There are no McLaren service centers here. There's been a lot of rumors that McLaren's going to be coming down here. So the reality is, if you do have a problem with your car under warranty, you are going to have to ship it to Atlanta or ship it to North Carolina or wherever the McLaren dealer happens to be that you bought the car from. This is now an out of warranty car. There are a lot of really good mechanics in Nashville, like Exotic Auto Sports and German Motor Works, that can work on these. They have the tool sets, so it's a non-issue, at least here. Now, if you live in North Dakota, you might have a problem, so be mindful of that, okay? This is a British sports car. It is hand-built. You're gonna probably wanna buy an OBD2 reader, right? So when she has a check engine light, you can plug it in and find out what's going on, okay? It might have some actuator issues, right? But the reality is this, if you're gonna buy a supercar and let it sit in your garage for weeks at a time, you're gonna have problems, okay? You need to get in and you need to drive these cars. And you need to drive them every single week. You gotta blow the carbon out, you gotta keep them on a tender when you're not using them, and I promise you, they're gonna work really well, okay? In all my experiences with McLarens, that's always what people tell me. They always have problems when they just sit, it's like their sixth car, it's not getting driven, the damn thing won't start, starts having electrical gremlins and all this stuff. Heed my words, I think these are pretty reliable cars overall. They're known to have good, reliable 4-liter engines. And overall, it's still a hand-built car, you know? The build quality is great though. It didn't rattle, there's no panel gap issues, at least on this particular one. So anyway, hope you learned something. I would not be scared to buy this car if you wanna go buy an extended warranty and whatnot. You know, you roll your dice if you can actually get your money back on that. But I think if you change the oil, you put good Shell fuel in it, you might throw some through it every once in a while, keep it on tender, you actually drive it and, you know, blow the carbon out from time to time. I think these things are going to be a great store of value, one, and I think they're just a lot of fun. They're a lot of car. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, leave a comment, subscribe, share it with a friend. We appreciate you watching today, and I want to thank Jason for letting me spend a few hours with him. Talk to you guys later.